Hello, what is happening? I'm going on a limb, I'm committing to this. I don't usually say numbers of where this is gonna fall in case I mess up or I change something, but this is series 2 of the Tesla conversation. We just spoke about, I'm in the same gear. This is the same video, I'm just breaking it up. That's what's weird about this, is I'm making it sound like it's been 2 days. It might be a week because my posting schedule is terrible, but I make it sound like, oh, here we are in session 2, and people are like, Ryan, you're wearing the same clothes. I don't know if you pay that close attention. Series 2 of the Tesla talk and my thoughts on Tesla, and what we're going to talk about today is Autopilot. You know, we talked about the charging, which I think is the most important factor in terms of battery and range, but the cool factor is obviously Autopilot, which you can see the car is doing as we speak. Now, to make this a little more interesting and to add the risk factor into this never seeing the light of day, I've included 3 cameras. This is my main camera with the microphone where I'm pulling the audio. Then up here, you have, I'm pointing to the rear view mirror, you have my GoPro, which is showing you what's going on the dash and kind of on the road. And then I'm going to be using this camera as my kind of look at what really close-ups going on the screen, because the GoPro is not going to do a good job of that. And anything else I just feel like I need movement for, this is my guy for that. This is the one. All right, so I think in terms of Autopilot, there is 2 types and 2 things you need to be aware of, and I'm gonna have to call you back. The first is standard Autopilot. As of this year, I think this is right. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but initially your car either had Autopilot or it had no Autopilot. As of this year, Autopilot Standard comes standard on your car. So what Autopilot, just the standard version, includes is Autopilot, driving your car, steering, staying in a lane, pacing the car in front of you. If you want to put on your blinker and have the car change lanes, it will do that for you. And that's it. That's what it did. Let's talk about that before we jump into what Autopilot Enhanced is. So right now, as you can see on the GoPro, you are looking at Autopilot Standard. And if you look right here, you can see here's my speed. These 2 blue lines signify my car staying in the lane, and it will stay there indefinitely. So Autopilot works by using the side cameras to monitor the lanes you're in. It will try to stay in that lane as long as there's road and there's cars in front of you. That is what Autopilot Standard looks like. Now let me take this exit and we will talk. So I'll show you more about how that works. Well, I can tell you what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna set the car to a cruising speed. It'll be 70. I'm getting on a road where the speed limit's 65. We'll do 70. My car will stay in the lane it's in and maintain 70 miles an hour. Now, if the car in front of me slows down and does 55, my car will keep the distance I've designated. I'm keeping 1 car distance away. It will keep that distance but pace the car in front of me. So if the car in front of me is doing 55, my car will stay in the lane and it will do 55. If that person does 80 and I have my max at 70, it'll do 70. But my car will stay in the lane, and here we go. So again, Autopilot's on. I'm actually doing 75 right now is what my max speed is. You can see that up on the GoPro. And let me show you how the lane changes work. I put on my blinker, and here goes my car. It's changing lanes on its own. I did not touch the wheel. It's in the lane. It will maintain this. It'll maintain 75 or the speed the car is going in front of me if it's slower than 75. Now let me put on my blinker and get back over. Again, You can see the car is changing lanes. I'm doing nothing. I'm not touching any brake, gas, anything. The car does everything. This is autopilot, standard autopilot. This is it. This works really well. It takes turns. It will stay in this lane. It will do what you want. That's it. And I really think this is pretty solid for this being a standard feature. The car is driving itself. I'm not complaining. It works, and it works really good. And here you can see real quick, it is asking me to put my hands on the wheel. It senses there's no like counter pressure, so you can put your hands on the wheel and give it a little shake, and it goes away. There's also a trick, but you get to see the trick at the end of the video. Now let's talk about Autopilot Enhanced. So Autopilot Enhanced, I'm gonna go in here and I'm driving, I'm gonna hit home. I'm gonna have to cancel this because I'm not going home, but I hit that, and now you see that autopilot line is no longer the 2 bars, it's the single. Look, the car is already saying, hey, I'm getting over. It's doing all this on its own. It just changed lanes. Now, this will be what's interesting. So Autopilot Enhanced is different. Now I have this, as you can see, it'll put in a destination, navigate on autopilot. It will use the address I have in the autopilot to navigate me down the highway. And what you'll see coming up ahead, you see way up there, there's a school bus. And that school bus is not going the speed. And here we go. The car recognizes that there's a school bus that's not doing the speed I want to do, so it will go around the car. And that's the difference between Autopilot Enhanced. Oh, while we're on autopilot, this is going to be one of my talking points. See this oversized load? The car does not, and I'm actually taking over, the car does not do well with oversized loads. It will not always, depending on how big the load is into your lane, it will not always get out of their way. All right, and this car behind me clearly wants to go faster, so go ahead. Come on, go ahead. No? Okay, we're gonna get back. So, I'm sorry, I saw the oversized load. I'll talk about that again in a second. But what I was saying was the car in Autopilot Enhanced, it recognizes, come on, what speed you want to go. So right now I want to go 80 miles an hour, and you can probably see that in the GoPro. I want to go 80. It's going to try to do 80. If the car in front of me is going slower than 80, unlike standard autopilot where it just will slow down and pace that car, the Tesla in full autopilot will go around the car and then get back into your lane, which is crazy. So any minute, I've got 2 cars are kind of pacing each other. My car is going to go around the slower traffic to maintain its 80. And you can change that. If I go in here and I go to driving, let me go to autopilot, and forward collision, lane departure, here we go, customize. So here, I think this is great. It says speed based on lane change. Disable, mild, average, or Mad Max. So on Mad Max, it knows you want to go your speed and it will just pass people like crazy to maintain your speed. All in all, I guess the question is it worth $6,000? I think so. There are some shortcomings of autopilot, and there's some tricks. That's what I want to talk about now. So first, the tricks. The biggest thing I get it right now, you can see on the GoPro, I'm not touching the wheel. Here we go. It's telling me, hey, put your hands on the wheel. If I do not touch the wheel, the car will stop moving. Right where I am in the fast lane, it'll stop moving. And usually you have to put pressure, but here, if I just touch the volume button up, it thinks that my hand's on the wheel because I'm adjusting the volume. So that's a nice little trick. You don't have to have all this pressure on the steering wheel. And I felt like when the car is starting to turn right, you had to give a little counter pressure to the left or right, the opposite way. And sometimes you give too much counter pressure, it kicks you out of autopilot. It thinks you want to take over. So I think the volume up, volume down button is a great little way to get it to stop telling you to touch the steering wheel, and you can keep your steering wheel. Big downfall is one I started to talk about it, oversized loads. If an oversized load is hanging into your lane, it makes me super nervous. The car doesn't show any signs that it recognizes there's something in your lane. Like a car head on, it would know that, but something a little bit hanging over to your lane, it gets a little bit too close for my personal preference. So I always take over for that. The second is debris. For those of you that think you're gonna get a Tesla that has autopilot and go to sleep, be banging out text the entire time, it's not gonna happen. One, you're gonna get notifications from the car to put your hands on your wheel. Two, you're gonna end up getting a flat tire or damage to your car, because this does not recognize potholes, debris, blown out tires, straps, metal rods, whatever could be in the middle of the street or the highway. The car is just going straight. It's looking for vehicles and turns, and that's it. It's not avoiding stuff in the road. So I would tell you through experience, I haven't gotten a flat tire, but there's stuff in the road all the time. Make sure you're paying attention. You can let the car do stuff. You can bang out a quick text, but you're not taking a nap. That's not gonna happen. The other thing this car seems to have troubles with is lanes, merge lanes. So if you think about being in a merge lane, let's say you're in the far right lane and there's an exit coming up, and that right lane kind of dips off so you can get into the exit ramp lane. Well, when you do that, if there's not that fast dotted line there, the car does not do well with that. Again, this car is looking at lanes on the left and the right of it. If the lanes on the right disappear, the car goes nuts. It's trying to, not nuts like it's gonna wreck, but it now tries to center in between. I gotta stop this because I'm not going that way. There we go. The car now tries to center in between really two lanes. It's looking for that far right lane. So it does not do well in those scenarios. And being honest, in light traffic, it does really well with lane changes. On a busy highway, this car does not do well with lane changes. Where this car just totally dominates is in traffic. Autopilot is good on wide open roads. Autopilot does a really good job. Look now, I got a wide open road, car's on autopilot, and it will just cruise. If I was going 200 miles like this, fabulous. But where this car just absolutely crushes it, in my opinion, because I live in DC traffic where I live 40 miles from 80% of my hospitals, and it takes me sometimes 3 hours to go 40 miles. Kill me. But that's where this car has totally made it okay to sit in traffic. Historically in traffic, it was on the gas, off the gas, on the gas, off the gas. You get a phone call, you're distracted, you almost rear end somebody. It was terrible. Now the car does it. As soon as I get in traffic, I put this car in autopilot and I put the speed on 70 miles an hour. So when the traffic does let up, the car will do 70 miles an hour. But for that whole hour and a half of sitting in stop traffic, the car is just stop and go. That's it. I've gotten through now 2 segments of what was a 40-minute clip. I am pretty proud of myself. The GoPro is still going. You're a winner. The point and shoot is still going. Winner. And autopilot's not on. I'm almost dead. You're a winner. And this is on. You're a winner. I did it. I made it.